Hey, it's Ubs here with a new Hearthstone deck centered around a card that's actually rotating out pretty soon. Actually, two cards that are rotating out soon. AKAMA and Infiltrator Lilian. The idea behind this deck was to originally get an entire board of AKAMA Primes on the board as a way to have a lot of really hard to kill minions on board so you could actually finish your opponent off in one turn. But this deck really just became a Infiltrator Lilian deck in the end, which is just as good because that card also is something that I've been wanting to use before it rotates out. But AKAMA himself isn't actually that bad, especially his prime version, even if you only get one copy to stick on the board. 2-turn combo with the AKAMA Prime and a Battleground Battlemaster as a way to do a bunch of damage in one foul sweep, and your opponent can do nothing about it. It basically is a Deathrattle Rogue merged with Stealth Rogue deck overall, and it can catch a lot of people off guard. I had a straight up 50% win rate, which is actually pretty good for a deck like this. I didn't expect it to do well, and it pleasantly shocked me. For the Mulligan guide of this deck, the key card to keep in your open hand is Sketchy Information. This will allow you to draw into AKAMA or Infiltrator Lilian as quickly as possible, thus also giving you their Deathrattles online for things like Counterfeit Blade to actually trigger later in the game, while also providing fodder for Forsaken Lieutenant, as you're basically using this as a draw engine and another way to trigger your Deathrattle on your two key Deathrattles. Other cards you want to keep in your open hand are some type of early game removal if you're in a minion based matchup where you want to get rid of a minion really quickly. SI Extortion is really good for this, especially because you can trade this in just to get an additional card and cycle through your deck a little bit faster. Brain Freeze is also good for this. Minion wise, you're usually looking to keep cards like Spy Mistress or Forsaken Lieutenant in your open hand. This can serve as a really good turn 2 play if you also have Greyheart Sage in your hand as a way to just trigger this right away. And because both of the Deathrattles that you use in this deck also have stealth, they act as a way to just get back stealth on the Forsaken Lieutenants if you do draw into them. And of course, cards that you definitely do not want to keep in your open hand are AKAMA and Infiltrator Lilian, as you don't want to turn Sketchy Information offline. And with that being said, let's go look at some games. Alright, time for a game against Paladin. So for this opening hand, we're going to mulligan away the two lieutenants. We don't mind keeping them most of the time, but we do want to try to get some early game removal because it is against Paladin, and what we get instead is way worse than the two lieutenants. Okay, so we get the lieutenant pack, which is kind of bad. We're going to use our hero power to kill their minion. We're going to kill the minion again, and then we could put down the lieutenant, or we could use the snowball graveyard, as we do have a way to instantly trigger it the next turn. Going to put the lieutenant down and kill their minion. We're going to play down the Lilian. We do miss the 2 damage, which is something that you need to really look out for, but we do get 2 Lilian adds here, and neither of them actually die, but we do kill their minion, which is actually pretty good. Then we put down the 3-1. They're going to buff up their protector. We're going to be able to instantly kill it depending on how we do this. Going to probably use the Greyheart Sage and draw into 2 additional cards, while also using Brain Freeze to only lose our Lilian boss. And then we're just going to go face with all our minions, and this is exactly what I meant by this deck really became a Lilian boss deck instead of a AKAMA deck, but it does serve the purpose of showing off a card that hasn't really been used that much either, so I'm not really too salty about not being able to get an entire board of AKAMAs, but this is really fine too. They're going to kill all of our minions, which sucks, but at least it wasn't concentration on like turn 4. It did give us quite a while to build up a board, and we do have ways to build up the board again. We're going to play down Counterfeit Blade, drawing into 2 cards with our Swindle, and the Counterfeit Blade is of course going to get Lilian's Deathrattle, and then we're going to shuffle in the Extortion. We're going to play down a Libram of Hope that heals them up, but we do have a way to instantly deal with it, so we are in a pretty good position while also doing 2 damage to their face. The downside is Of course, they do have the weapon to reduce the amount of damage they take by half, but if we put down enough minions, we'll be able to chip away at their HP slowly but surely. And then they're going to have a Varian, which is going to be a little bit annoying to try to deal with, but we can deal with it pretty easily between a Brain Freeze and maybe Extortion, I think. We're going to kill the Lilian, which is a little bit annoying. We could also just use our stealth minions to do it. We're going to draw 2 cards probably with the Sage real quick. Going to discount it too. We do have the Lieutenant, so if we draw into a AKAMA, we should be in a pretty good position, and we do. We're going to put down a Plagiarize, so we get whatever they play next turn, especially if it's the Libram of Hope minion bounce back, or if it is a additional Libram of Hope, we should be in a really good position if it is. And then just going to trade in the Extortion one last time. We're going to play a Broomstick because they're probably testing the waters to see what it actually is. They also can kill our minion without doing much here anyways. This does get us a Broomstick, which can be used later, especially because we do have the second Plagiarize. It's sad that we only got that as our card, but we can play a bunch of cards here just to lower the chance of milling anything with the next Plagiarize. We're going to get Lilian's Deathrattle again. Going to play down the Lieutenant and AKAMA, and then we can use our hero power to play the second Plagiarize. They are going to play the second Libram of Hope, but because we have the Broomstick, we should just be able to win the next turn, or in the following turn after, because we do have Smite in our hand, plus the 2 Cold Blood. Alright, we can heal ourselves, play the Broomstick. Man, I'm going to miss that card when it rotates out. It is annoying, but at the same time, it's a really cool tool to make big minions actually a lot more playable. And they give up. Alright, time for a game against Mage, including a Mage that's actually using the pre-order skin. That's actually grown on me a lot more than I thought it would. We're going to mulligan everything here away except for the sketchy information. And we get a Counterfeit Blade and a Swindle, which is really good to have in the open hand. Swindle is a little less decent just because we don't have a way to easily trigger the combo. But drawing a spell is more important than drawing a minion in this deck. At least until we get AKAMA Primes online. We drew hard into the Infiltrator Lilian, which is annoying. Which means the only thing that sketchy information has is AKAMA. We can put down the 1-drop, or we can just use our hero power and go face. Okay, we do have Plagiarize. We're just going to draw into the AKAMA because I don't want to risk my luck to not use it this turn. The shitty thing is the Counterfeit Blade can just keep giving us AKAMAs at this point, but that is the main point of the deck, so I guess it's not that bad. I also keep forgetting that that card back's a card back. I really need to use it in the future. I usually just have my card back set to random, but sometimes new card backs are cool to use. We're going to put down the Stealth Minion and trigger the Swindle, trying to get into the AKAMA Prime, and we do. The good news is Mage really doesn't have a way to deal with AKAMA Pride, so... And it is a golden AKAMA Pride, which is really cool. Extortion doesn't really do us anything here. We're just going to mulligan away. The Lieutenant's really cool. Does mean we're putting off playing the Infiltrator for a turn. We're going to use Plagiarize and then attack base. They're going to ping our minion. Draw 2 cards. Fire Cell would have been nice if they had enough mana for it, but they drew into it. We're going to get the draw. And now we can put down a second Lieutenant plus our Lilian Voss, which is actually kind of funny. Because that's what, like 12 points of damage if it actually sticks. Going to attack, not make the same mistake as before. And now they all gain stealth again, and they draw into something that they have to mill, which is really good for us. Especially because that's additional draw power. Basically what we want here is to find a graveyard, because if we find a graveyard, damage output of this doubles, which is actually pretty good. And we can instantly attack into their minion too, which is pretty decent. And it does get rid of both of our 2/2s. We're going to draw 2 cards, Brain Freeze and Extortion. It does not hit the minion, which is perfect. We're going to use the Counterfeit Blade. Hopefully it'll get a Lilian boss, and it does. There was a 66% chance it was going to be Lilian, but you never know. And that is a very frightening card. If they have enough damage and enough draw power, we just lose the game. But if they don't, we'll be able to instantly kill the minion, which is good. And the Lilian does go into MOZAKI. They're going to clear out our board. That's the smart play. They're probably hoping that we don't have any way to actually deal with the MOZAKI on board. That's also a card that I kind of wanted to use before we rotated out. But there's no real unique way to, so I didn't really feel like doing it, to be honest. There's other mage cards that I really want to try out before they do, because I don't know if the Agwin is going to stay, and they give up. Okay, time for a game against Warrior. Lilian in the opening hand is really, really bad. We're going to actually mulligan away everything except for maybe the Plagiarize. None of these cards are really decent in the opening hand, so I guess we'll see what we get here. And we hard draw into AKAMA and the 2 lieutenants. Man, that summarizes how this deck goes 90% of the time. We're going to play down the Spy Master, which was a good top deck, but it is a little bit annoying. Okay, so they're not Quest Warrior, which I guess is a good sign, but not that much. I'd rather be Quest Warrior than Control Warrior, I think, in this matchup, because of cards like that. Well, we can put down the 2nd lieutenant, or we could put down the Snowfall Graveyard just so we can shuffle in a bunch of AKAMA Primes, because I almost want to bet you they're going to be able to instantly deal with it. Okay, that's a weird card to include in a deck. What are the chances they have another board clear for the lieutenant, right? I'm guessing they're Kazakhstan Warrior then. They're going to go face, and they're going to kill our minion. I mean, I guess it is Control Warrior. I should have expected it, but a little bit annoying. We can play the AKAMA, because why not at this point? If they kill it, we get double shuffled in the deck. Going to discount the Graveyard, which isn't really the best target. Hopefully the AKAMA survives a turn so we can get the draw off of the Sage. Athletic Studies, interesting. I want to do something with Athletic Studies and I forgot what the hell his name is, to buff up a weapon to Kingdom Come before it actually rotates out, which might be, it isn't going to be Wednesday's video, but it'll probably be the following Monday, so probably a week from today. Even if it's terrible. We're going to draw 2 cards. We could use the Graveyard again, or we could use Plagiarize. Plagiarize actually might be a good card to do here, especially because they should have a Shield Shatter probably in hand. That's going to cost them 0. Or we're just going to get an Anchorman, which is draw power, so I can't complain there. They're going to kill the AKAMA, which is fine. I don't really mind. We're going to get the draw power here. Sketchy information into Lilian is really funny, especially if we could double it with the Graveyard and kill their minion and still have enough mana for it. Man, the fact that I have 1 golden sketchy information and it gives me golden of whatever Deathrattles is really cool. Okay, so Frozen Bulker, and there's the Shield Shatter. Alright, we can play the Plagiarize again. We're going to play down the Lilian. They're not going to be dumb enough to kill the Lilian, right? Actually, there's something really funny we could do with the Lilian, but I don't think it works how I think it's going to work out. It also depends if they put any minions down too. And it doesn't look like they do. They're going to give us a weapon, which is fine. A draw power weapon actually is really good for us to have. Secret Passage is probably what we're going to do here to try to get anything out of the deck. Swindle's interesting. Counterfeit Blade's actually probably going to be the go-to, though it will give us AKAMA. We could just actually bounce back the Lilian here, just because I'd rather have Scabs and then draw into 2 cards. AKAMA is really good, especially because we do have the Battleground Battlemaster already in hand. We're going to armor up again. I'm assuming that means they probably have a shield shatter so they can kill our minions. I'd rather them play that now than when we put AKAMA Prime down. We're going to put down the Lilian boss again, or the Infiltrator boss. We're going to put our weapon down, then just go face with our minions. Might as well. And ourselves. Trying to make them forcefully use the shield shatter before we actually put down the Prime. Because if we put the Prime down and then we put down any other type of minion, we should be good. We also have the really funny interaction between Anchorman and Mr. Smite, even though we don't normally run pirates. And there it is, so we're in a really good position. There's Counterfeit Blade. We can put down the Prime and then pass the turn back. Hopefully they don't have any other type of board clear. And even if they do have a minefield or something, we should have enough HP on our minions to keep the Prime alive. Okay, so they're going to put up a taunt. But luckily for us, we do have ways to deal with it. Because we can put down the Wind Fury. And then we can put down Mr. Smite, attack into their minion, and then just win the game. Alright, now that we're through the games, let's discuss my final thoughts of the deck. So, I had a 50% win rate with this deck, which really shocked me. I did not expect a deck like this to actually function as well as it did, which was a really pleasant surprise, especially because I wanted to use Akama and Lilian before they rotated out. And if you want to do the same, this is the perfect deck for you. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye-bye.